Owning a vineyard sounds like a dream, right? Rows of grapevines stretching as far as the eye can see. The sweet scent of ripening fruit in the air. Sunsets painting the valley gold while you sip on a glass of your own wine. Well, for me, that dream became reality after years of hard work. I bought a huge piece of land just outside town, an entire valley. Fertile soil, natural springs, and the perfect climate for grapes. It wasn't just a vineyard, it was my sanctuary. I built a small house on the hill, overlooking the vines, with barns, tractors, and everything needed to keep things running. Best of all, my land stretched so wide it actually bordered one of those suburban cookie-cutter neighborhoods, the kind ruled by, you guessed it, an HOA. And if you've ever dealt with an HOA, you already know trouble was brewing. At first, it was little things. Residents from the neighborhood would wander onto my land during evening walks, snapping pictures of the vines or trying to take shortcuts. I didn't mind too much. After all, grapes look pretty, and who doesn't like a country stroll? But then came the HOA president. Let's call him Mr. Henderson. Tall, smug, always in a polo shirt tucked into khakis. He had that tone of voice that said, "I run things around here." One day, he came marching up my drive like he owned the place. "Excuse me, sir," he said, "but you need to cut back those vines near our fence. They're sticking out and making the neighborhood look unkempt." I blinked at him. "Sir, that's not your fence. That's my property line. And those vines aren't sticking out there growing exactly where they should be." He frowned. "Well, the HOA board has rules. Everything must be kept neat and uniform. You'll need to trim them back, or there could be fines." I nearly laughed. "You can't fine me for grapes growing on my land. Your HOA rules don't apply here." He didn't like that answer. His eyes narrowed, and he stomped away muttering, "We'll see about that." A week later, I found flyers taped to my gate. Notice of violation, unsanctioned agricultural activity. I kid you not. The HOA had decided that my vineyard was unsanctioned, as if I needed their permission to farm land I bought and paid for. I called Henderson, furious. "This is ridiculous. You have zero authority over my property." His reply, "Sir, this neighborhood prides itself on order. Your farm equipment is an eyesore. The smell of your fertilizer is offensive. And frankly, your entire vineyard is lowering our property values. We're escalating this matter." That's when I realized Henderson wasn't just being nosy. He wanted control. Sure enough, a few days later, I was out checking the irrigation lines when two police cruisers rolled up my dirt road. The officers stepped out, looking confused but professional. "Sir, we got a call from the HOA about illegal farming." I almost spit out my water. "Illegal farming? This is a vineyard." They glanced around at the endless rows of grapes, the tractors, the barns. Clearly, nothing was shady about it. Still, they asked to see paperwork. "Of course," I said, trying not to laugh. I pulled out my deed, my licenses, and all the county permits. My name was plastered across every page. One officer scratched his head. "You own all of this?" I smiled. "Yep, all 2,500 acres. The whole valley." That's when Henderson himself came storming down the road, HOA clipboard in hand. "Officers, arrest this man immediately. He's violating our bylaws, and he refuses to comply." The cops turned to him slowly. "Sir, this isn't your jurisdiction. This is private farmland." Henderson puffed out his chest. "No, this land backs up to our neighborhood. It's part of our community. And this vineyard is disruptive." The officers exchanged a look. Then one asked me, "How much of this area do you own?" I spread my arms wide, from the ridge on that side to the river bend on the other. "The entire valley." The officer's jaws dropped. Henderson's face went pale. "You mean," one officer said carefully, "this HOA neighborhood is completely surrounded by your land?" I grinned. "Exactly. They're basically an island inside my property." You could see the realization hit Henderson like a freight train. His little kingdom of beige houses and manicured lawns was completely boxed in by my vineyard. If I wanted to, I could cut off their only road in and out. "This is outrageous," Henderson sputtered. "You can't just own the whole valley. Check the county records," I said. "Been mine for years. You're the guests here." The officers tried not to laugh. "Mr. Henderson, unless this man is breaking a real law, there's nothing we can do. His farm is 100% legal. But his tractors are noisy." Henderson whined. "His vines are ugly. His chickens woke me up once." One cop finally chuckled. "Sir, maybe you should be a little nicer to the man who literally owns the land your HOA sits on." After that day, the HOA didn't have much power left. Henderson still tried letters, threats, even talking about suing me, but every lawyer he contacted told him the same thing. You have no authority over private farmland. In fact, I had authority over them. Their only access road cut through my land. Legally, I had to allow easement, but I didn't have to make it easy. So, I installed a big ranch gate with security cameras. Only residents with a keycard could get through. And every time Henderson complained about my vines, I reminded him, careful, I could start charging a toll for that road. Within months, the rest of the neighborhood turned on Henderson. They were tired of his fights with me, tired of wasting HOA dues on pointless battles they could never win. At the next meeting, he was voted out as president. As for me, well, I kept farming, harvesting grapes, and running my vineyard like always. Only now, I had a reputation. I was the guy who owned the valley, the one man the HOA couldn't boss around. Sometimes, on warm evenings, I'd sit on my porch, sip a glass of my best red, and watch the HOA residents drive down the only road in or out through my vineyard, past my gate, and under my cameras. And every time I saw Henderson's car roll by, I couldn't help but smile. Because 6 minutes after he called the police, he learned the hard truth. You can't control the valley when the valley belongs to me. So, that's the story of how the HOA called the cops on my vineyard, only to realize I owned the whole valley they lived in. If you've ever dealt with an HOA or a neighbor who thought they were king of the block, you know exactly how sweet that moment felt. Remember, respect boundaries, know your limits, and never underestimate the guy with the grapes.